Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And there is good news. There is more class tuning incoming, even despite what I thought was going to be the final build, release candidate. They've actually decided to do further tuning that will be incoming on February 17th. So if you want to make sure you're staying up to date with news related to World of Warcraft, educational and entertaining content, make sure to smash that subscribe button, because it seems like the news is not going to stop coming. And just when you think something's locked in and you're ready to go, maybe it's going to shift under your feet. So this is a good idea to subscribe so you can always see that shift coming and it's not going to be unexpected. So with scheduled maintenance, they are implementing a tuning pass that will be focused on reeling in the most overperforming outliers. So a lot of nerfs. Ooh, that's a big yikes for arcane mages and demo locks possibly, so that they can be more aligned with other classes. We've also identified a few underperforming specs that need to be helped to ensure all feel viable in all forms of content. So everything. We're also increasing all healer damage, as healers have been doing less damage than intended. This is very important for preservation evoker, but there's some healers where this might have been maybe unnecessary. So I'll just see what the specifics are. For Unholy Death Knight, developers notes recent bug fixes and tuning adjustments caused diseases to deal more damage than intended. We are rebalancing their output to keep the build viable, while also updating Putrefy and Necromancer's Cunning to trigger Rune of the Apocalypse effects, helping support a wider range of build options. So dot damage coming down. Now in PvP, this is probably a good thing, because your dots just get spam dispelled by paladins. I'd really like to see them remove that. We've seen that they're willing to remove PvP talents with the Nether Flux on Arcane Mage. There's a PvP talent on paladins right now. I think it's for Flash Heal, Direct Healing, Dispels Diseases, something like that. It's completely overkill. Like, you can't even get diseases on a target. You just feel completely useless. I'd really like to see that talent gone, but obviously taking emphasis away from the diseases is going to help with those situations, and depending what they've done to Paladin, if they consider it an overperformer or not, we'll have to see. Pestilence now deals 100% of your plagues remaining damage, down from 150. Epidemic got a 10% nerf. Graveyard got a 10% nerf. So just dots and AoE, likely because it was also performing really well in Mythic Plus situations. They have, though, buffed Magus of the Dead Shadow Bolt and Frost damage increased by 20%. And I think they also, in the build before this, increased the proc rate of Magus of the Dead. So this is probably really good. The damage from Putrefy and Necromancer's Cunning can now trigger Rune of Apocalypse effects. And Rune of Apocalypse, I think, is going to be the main go-to, at least in PvP. I'm not so sure in PvE, but in PvP, I think this is the go-to at the moment, so that's going to be nice. For Sand Lane, Visceral Strength grants 4%, down from 8%, and Sand Lane Incite Terror stacks up to 3 times, down from 5. So Sand Lane getting some nerfs, diseases, AoE getting some nerfs, with a little bit of a slight compensation, but not a major one. For Devourer Demon Hunters, they are just nerfing every ability by 4%. Okay, so we're getting into the 3%, the 4% crew, it seems like, here for this round of tuning. It's not a huge hit. Devour Demon Hunter, I think, will still be fine in PvP situations, even despite that. Havoc is getting a 5% buff, which definitely needed. Havoc was lagging behind, so nice little trade-off here. I like the pace of this, just like bringing things down slightly, bringing things up slightly, and I think if they iterate on this over multiple weeks, then every spec will feel is about as close as they possibly could to competitive viability, and we're going to have a really good expansion launch. Boomkin, we're getting a 3% buff, and that's obviously PvE, I think, mainly, but they are allowing us to keep this in PvP, so that's interesting. For Feral Druid, you're getting a 3% buff on all your abilities, as well as your auto attack damage. Feral probably need a little bit more than that. Honestly, in PvP, I'd like to see them bring down crowd control from Feral. I think Maim Stun probably needs to go up on cooldown, and then buff their bleed damage. It's really their bleed damage, at least in PvP. I don't know if it is in PvE, so this is trying to take everything into account, which obviously this is nice just for everything, but it's not too specific either. For Restoration Druid, they're buffing Sunfire by 35%, Moonfire by 30%, and the mana cost. This is an important one as a Resto Druid, man. I get so tired of running out of mana spamming Moonfire. This is very nice. I like that. Star Surge, 40% damage buff. Wrath and Starfire, 25%. Really good in tree form with spam Wrath. All damage is now increased by 1% per level, resulting in a 15% overall increase on top of these effects. I like that. That's nice. That's very nice. Devastation Evoker. Fixed an issue causing disintegrate damage to be much lower than intended, increasing disintegrate by 76%. Oh my god, bro. Okay, this is Devastation week. This is Devastation week. What, 76%? But then they nerfed all your damage by 4%, so it's only like 70, whatever the math is on that because they're percentages, but in and around 70%. Flame Shaper, Conduit of Flame, now increases critical strike chance by 10% against targets above 50%, down from 15. Unfortunately, Flame Shaper I think was just not viable in PvP, so it's kind of sad to see that. There's some specs where one hero talent tree is definitely taking command, the other one's being left behind. Elemental Shaman's another one I'm thinking of with the Tempest build with Stormbringer for Ellie. I'd really like to see that. Just Ellie in general, I think needs more attention. It just seems like a huge amount of keybind bloat. But I'm off topic here from Devastation. We'll get to Ellie when we get to it. Maybe they've done those things. Flame Shaper, Fulminous Roar now causes Fire Breath to deal damage 15% more often, down from 20%. So yeah, Flame Shaper nerfs is sad, but I mean, they're just, you're going to be lasers, I guess. Preservation Evoker, all healing increased by 6%. You needed a little juice, maybe a little bit more than just a little bit. We'll see here. They're also increasing your damage by 58%, which is what you really needed. Preservation Evoker with the short range, like you got to get really close to combat, whether it's PvE or PvP, you're a lot more exposed. And the only advantage you had was that you were doing pretty good damage while you were doing that. So this is very nice compensation there. Temporal Artificer reduces the cooldown of Rewind by 60 seconds now, down from 120. So Rewind's becoming a much longer cooldown. However, Rewind reverses 30% of the damage taken in the last 5 seconds. Previously, it's 33%. Does not affect PvP. It's still, Rewind's going to be so bad now. Now it's an even longer cooldown, and it still doesn't heal for anything. It's kind of sad. Fixed an issue where Dream Breath heal was slightly less than a 40-yard radius. Emerald Blossom mana cost reduced by 20%. Not a huge deal, but Reversion is definitely by 22%. And then Fire Breath will be 30% less mana as well. For Beast Mastery Hunters, Dark Ranger, Dark Hound attack power reduced by 25%. For Pack Leader, Boar area effect damage now reduced beyond 5 targets. It was previously 8. So these are just minor tweaks. I don't think are going to be huge, at least for PvP. For Marksmanship, Windrunner Quiver no longer benefits focused aim twice. I'm unsure what this is. So if you're a Marksmanship Hunter main, if this is a big deal to you, please let me know in the comments down below, because it could be. Focused aim now reduces aim shots cooldown by 2 seconds, up from 1. Okay, so focused aim, so it's not going to be double dipping, but baseline, it's just going to be reducing the cooldown. Trick shots effectiveness reduced to 60%, down from 75. Rapid fire's cooldown is reduced to 16 from 20, so you'll be able to rapid fire more. True shot now improves aim shots cooldown recovery rate by 40%, though, down from 60. So a little less aim shots during the true shot window, but more rapid fires overall. Bullet Storm now increases aim shot damage by 1%, down from 2, so a little bit less damage out of aim shot. Sentinel Lunar Storm now deals reduced damage beyond 8 targets, a little bit of an AoE cap. Sentinel Can't Miss, Won't Miss now increases true shot duration by 2 seconds, down from 4. So the true shot window getting a little weaker. Rapid fire going to be a little bit more frequent. Again, I don't think this is going to be too major on either front, other than, in PvE AoE maybe, but in PvP not so much. For survival, they're nerfing all your damage by 4%. Strike is 1 is getting a 10% damage nerf. Boomstick's getting a 10% damage nerf. I think these are like appropriate numbers, with where survival's performance was, at least in PvP. So it's good that these are going to benefit both aspects of the game, both content of the game. Pack Leader, Better Together, now increases Raptor Strike and pet damage by 5%, down from 15. Okay, so that's a lot. Now we're getting into a lot. I don't know about nerfing the sustained damage. That's where I start getting a little bit more concerned, but like targeting the boomstick damage for sure. Pack Leader Wyvern damage bonus now grants 10% increased damage, down from 15. So Pack Leader's getting big nerfs. Pack Leader Boar area effect damage also nerfed beyond 5 from 8. Lunar Storm now deals reduced damage beyond from 8. So Survival Hunter nerfs across the board here. May consider changing to Sentinel. You may want to, at least, with these changes. For Arcane Mage, Arcane Pulse cast time is being reduced to 1.75 seconds. It's mostly a PvE thing. Spellslinger Splintering Orbs damage bonus reduced to 25 from 35. Arcane Splinter damage bonus reduced by 50. It's so funny they just buffed this, and now we're gonna just get it. We're just dialing it all out. Spellslinger signature spell now increases Arcane Blast and Arcane Pulse damage by 15%, down from 25. So you cast it faster, but I don't know about the Arcane Blast part of it. I'm a little sad about that. Spellslinger Polished Focus now increases barrage damage by 15, down from 25. So Arcane nerfs, mostly Spellslinger. So trying to rebalance that in with the Phoenix a little bit. A little bit better hard. I really wish Arcane Blast damage wasn't nerfed. I actually like Arcane Blast hitting decently hard. For fire, they fixed an issue with Flame On not correctly reducing the cooldown of Fire Blast. So a lot of bug fixes for some specs here. That should be a buff. For Frost, we're moving damage out of the baseline Frost and into hero talents to help give us more precise control over hero talents performance in different content. We're also slightly reducing Frostfire's area damage. So Shatter's getting 10% nerf, Blizzard 10%, Frostbolt 10%, Frozen Orb 20%, Winter's End damage 75%. Winter's End is providing too much benefit to specific builds and playstyles, so we are significantly reducing its power. Frostfire, Flash, Freezer Burn, Glacial Spike damage bonus reduced to 15 from 25. And what is the compensation for this? Frostfire Dual Casting Adept now increases Shatter and Blizzard damage by 15%, up from 10. And Frost Firebolt damage is just increased by 10%. For Spellslinger, Polished Focus now increases Shatter damage by 20%. Okay, this is a way to try and get Spellslinger to be more viable for Frost. Signature Spell now increases Frostbolt and Blizzard damage by 25, up from 15. And Splintering Orb damage bonus increased to 40 from 25. Frost Splinter damage increased by 10%. So you may want to try out Spellslinger after these changes, because that seems like a bit more power is being redistributed there. At least as far as I can see, but maybe Spellslinger was so far behind that even that redistribution won't matter too much. For Mistweaver, they're giving you the same deal. All damage increased by 1% per level. So does that mean you have 90% increased damage? Because they didn't explain it here like they did with the other ones. But they are nerfing your Tiger Palm by 31, Blackout Kick by 32. This is so weird. So they're buffing everything, but then nerfing everything. I think the buff is bigger than the nerf. Would be my best guess right now. Rising Sun Kick nerfed by 32, Crackling Jade Lightning by 32, Spinning Crane Kick reduced by 32, Celestial Conduit reduced by 30, Jade Fire Teaching transfers an additional 200% damage down from 260. So nerfing the Fistweaver, Way of the Crane also heal for 125 down from 160. So we still don't see the thing, at least in PvP, that's causing Mistweaver to be very prevalent, which is and I mean, this might just be a redistribution, right? Like, the damage increase from this baseline could just compensate for losing the healing from here. So this is very hard to tell how much of impact this is going to have, but they still haven't touched the Renewing Mist PvP modifiers that are making your heal over time effects just really strong. So you'll probably be okay from this, as much as like this seems like complicated math. The buff at the top and then all of this, like, you might just end up very close to where you were anyways. For Windwalker, a 10% damage nerf across the board, 20% additionally on Rising Sun Kick, but not in PvP. Glory of the Dawn damage has been decreased by 50%. Spinning Crane Kick, though, is increased by 30%. Fist of Fury is increased by 40%, so redistributing the damage into Fist is what this seems like. Rushing Wind Kick's activation rate increased to 60, up from 40, and no longer has a cooldown for Windwalker monks. Ooh. Touch of the Tiger increases Tiger Palm's damage by 50%, up from 15. And Conduit of the Celestials invokes Zwen. Now copies 4% of the damage done, down from 8. So a little bit of a nerf to the Conduits. It seems like Conduit of the Celestial Conduit damage decreased by 20%. And for Shadowpan, One versus Many now increases Fist of Fury damage by 60%. My God, man. The 40% on Fist and then another 40% on Fist. I mean, we're just going to be Shadowpan fisting. That's what we're doing. We're just Shadowpan fisters, I think, for Windwalker. For Paladin, Templar Sanctification will now trigger correctly from Hammer of Wrath. They're buffing Divine Storm by 12%, and they are buffing Divine Hammer damage by 30%, and they're not nerfing that in PvP. So Divine Hammer might be hitting pretty hard for Ret. For Holy, Empyrean Legacy now casts Light of Dawn at 30% effectiveness, down from 125. Empyrean Legacy may now stack up to 2 times. Beacon of the Savior absorb amount decrease, so Holy Paladin nerfs. All damage is increased by 1% per level, resulting in a 58% overall increase. But they're nerfing Judgment, nerfing Consecrate, nerfing your Shield of Righteous, nerfing your Crusader Strike. Avenging Crusader will now heal for 80% down from 100. These changes should, I like that they explained it here. It's just a net neutral change for Judgment and Consecration, and a slight buff for Shield of Righteous and Crusader Strike, and a larger buff for Holy Shock and Hammer of Wrath. So, I mean, other than this little extra proc absorb amount, I feel like you're getting off pretty scot-free, at least in single target situations, which for PvP is the most important. For Discipline, they're buffing your damage by 32% with this 1% per level thing. Atonement will heal less, but again, maybe it's a net neutral. And Atonement heals for 50% of the damage done in PvP combat. Void Weaver, Void Blast damage is getting buffed by 30%. So Void Weaver getting a little bit of assistance here, as it has been falling off pretty heavily, at least in PvP. But I don't know if it's really enough. And I would imagine that most of this is just net neutral, even though they didn't explain it. For Holy Priest, all damage is increased by 58% with the new level scaling that they're doing. But they're nerfing Holy Fire by 25. So, add and then minus to bring that back up. Fixed an issue where Burning Vehemence had no visual impact. Oracle fixed a bug causing Piety to unintentionally be reduced. For Shadow, Void Form now increases damage done by 20%, up from 10. Nice. Okay, so we're getting a little bit more burst damage. That's what Shadow was definitely lacking. So Void Form going to be very important here. For Rogue, for Trickster, Unseen Blade damage reduced by 5%. For Assassination, though, they're buffing Rupture by 5%. They're buffing Fan of Knives by 25%. And Caustic Spatter will cause 18% of your nature damage to hit nearby enemies, up from 15. So a little bit of a help here. Nothing major, but again, I like the small numbers, week over week, see where they're at, reassess, go up a little bit more, right? And then you get into a spot with it where you're not just like overshooting and then the hammer nerfing and then overshooting hammer nerf. That's why I like the small moves here. So that's a good one for Assassin. For Subtlety, Nimble Flurry effect reduced to 65% of skill damage, down from 75. And Trickster, Clever Combatant crit chance for Shuriken Storm reduced to 15, down from 20. So I think mostly focusing around PvE for Subtlety. Subtlety is, I think, still going to be pretty strong. At least when it comes to PvP. For Shaman, you guys are getting some attention. Brimming with Life now increases stamina by 8 to 15%, up from 5 to 10. So a little bit more durability. Elemental Warding will now reduce magic damage by 8%, up from 6. And Nature's Guardian now instantly heals the Shaman for 40% of their health, up from 20. So a lot of durability for all three Shaman specs from that. For Elemental, they're buffing Earthquake damage by 15%, Chain Lightning by 15%. For Tempest on Stormbringer, it now deals 40% additional damage to its primary target and 20% less to nearby target. Oh my god. See, I'm very worried that Stormbringer is just going to be this omega cheesy one-shot build. I mean, it already is right now, where you just RNG roll and hope that it hits for a lot. That's gonna, I feel like, put it really far over the edge. Even though I was getting frustrated by it, because if you don't get the perfect crits and the perfect alignment, it feels useless. Like, that's going to make it so pretty much you're going to. They fixed a bug causing Tempest Overload to deal less damage, and so the overloads are also going to do more damage. Okay, so you're tankier and you got a big one-shot. For Restoration, all damage is being increased by 58% based on the level scaling, but they're nerfing 5% on Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Flame Shock, and Lava Burst. Again, it's probably going to end up being close to the same. For Farseer, they're also nerfing your Ancestor Lava Burst and Chain Lightnings by 62%, which is more than the buff. So maybe Farseer damage going down a little bit, but overall pretty net neutral. We don't see any healing buffs, though, at least for PvP. And Holy Paladin and Mistweaver are pretty like slap on the wrist right now. So I don't see the healer hierarchy moving too much. Demonology Warlock, damage dealt by demons summoned by Dominion of Argus decreased by 45%. Here are the demo nerfs. And for Soul Harvester, demonic soul damage reduced by 25%. Soul Harvester soul anathema damage reduced by 35%. Now, I've pretty much only been playing the demon build, not the Soul Harvester build. So honestly, I don't even know. Is that really too big of a deal? Might not be, honestly. I feel like it's not really. For Destro, you're getting 10% damage buff on Rain of Fire, 15% on Immolate. I don't know if that'll apply to Wither. 20% on Conflagrate is nice. 20% on Incinerate is nice. And Diabolist Runation damage, though, is being reduced by 35%. And for Hellcaller, Blackened Soul damage is being reduced by 30%. So it's weird. It's the opposite of the Mage. They're taking the power out of the hero talents and putting them into the baseline spells. With this, it might just be a net neutral, honestly, for Destro. Warrior. Okay, what's going on with Warrior? Overpowering finish bonus damage to overpower reduced by 15, down from 25. So a nerf already. Are we really nerfing arms more? I mean, this is PvE changes up the top. I can see PvP down here, so maybe there's more down there, but are we really nerfing them more? I thought they were bad. Mass Execution bonus damage to cleave reduced to 20% from 25. Colossus Demolish AoE damage reduced by 20%. Colossus Cut the Bone damage bonus to Rend and Deep Winds reduced to 15 from 25. So you guys actually get nerfed again, bro. I get. Who is playing Arms Warrior that's making it look so broken? Fury Slayer, Reap the Storm chance to trigger reduced to 30%, down from 35. For Prot Warriors, they're buffing Execute damage by 20%. Colossus Demolish AoE damage is being nerfed, though, by 20%. And also your bonus damage to Cut to the Bone on Rend and Deep Winds is being nerfed. So a little bit more single target power, but way less AoE power. Now for PvP specifically, we actually have a lot. For Frost Decay, 8% damage buff. Nice, that's good. For Unholy, I cannot believe they're giving you 10% damage. I guess it's to compensate for the disease change. But the fact that they're not targeting Soul Reaper the damage modifier on it at all, and just giving you 10% more means this will feel really good. Hey, Devour, you got hit a little bit up top, but you're getting some help here. I like this on Void Ray. Void Ray felt really useless. This is nice. For Feral Druid, this is nice. You got 6% on top of the 3% up top, so 9%'s nice. For Augmentation, 15%. I wonder if there's a cheesy one-shot there. There probably is. For Preservation, Emerald Communion PvP talent can now be cast while the Evoker is affected by Fear or Confuse. Oh, that's good, because, yeah, if you didn't have, like, Hover Up with the move casting, you couldn't use it. So that's nice. If you're CC'd, you'll be able to use it. For Fire Mage, they're nerfing all damage by 5%. Sun Fury Pyroblast damage from Arcane Phoenix has been reduced by 58%. Oh my god, I think that's dead. Is that dead? I feel like your fire is dead, maybe. I mean, fire was really good, but fire might just be cooked. For Mistweaver, Mist Line now. Oh, we did it. There's no slap on the wrist down here. This is a lot. Now increases the healing of renewing mist by 200% down from 500. Sphere of Hope can no longer be dispelled from friendly targets. That's nice. So you'll be getting your Sphere guaranteed healing bonus, but they nerfed this. This pad healing was just doing so much throughput. This is going to open up a lot more healer viability. These are good changes. For Holy Paladin, Lightsmith, Holy Bulwark now absorbs 10% of health down from 15, and 1% down from 2 every 2 seconds. So targeting Lightsmith, trying to rebalance the hero talents, and also nerfing Paladin at the same time. I think that's a good direction. And they did it by a moderate amount, not a huge amount. I think that's good. And then with everything else that happened up top, it's good. Okay, so they're compensating you for the atonement change up top. You're getting 44% more atonement healing in PvP, which is nice. For Rogue, Airborne Irritant now reduces the cooldown of Blind by 50% down from 80. There was a weird build of Rogue where they're running low cooldown Blind to apply, I can't remember what the debuff is called, but it reduced damage and healing by like 30%. So Rogue's really just throwing out these blinds to just reduce healing on healers, and it was really weird gameplay. So I think that's what they're trying to target with that. And Assassination Rogue got a 12% buff to everything on top of what they did above. That's nice. I Warriors, you guys have got to be getting something good. What is Ellie getting? Flames of the Cauldron now reduces the cooldown of Flame Shock and Voltaic Blaze by 3 seconds, which is nice because of the dispels, which I wish we would just target them. Oh, but Tempest. Okay, so they knew this was going to get OP with how many times Tempest was getting buffed above. So it's going to get reduced. I like the durability increase to Ellie. That's nice, but Tempest and Stormbringer just feels so cheesy, unviable, janky. I really wish it would just get completely overhauled, but I don't know if it's like really good in PvE and they like it a lot there, so there's no chance of it ever changing. But it just doesn't feel like a lightning shaman to me. It feels really slow and bulky. Lightning's supposed to be fast and rapid, so that's just my personal opinion of it from my experience playing it. Enhancement Shaman's getting 5% damage across the board, but they're nerfing Wind Strike, so Ascendance. Thorm's Invocation now discharges lightning spells at 35% effectiveness while Doom Wind's Ascendance is active, down from 50. And Totemic Oversurge now increases Surging Totem damage by 25% while Ascendance is active. I feel like they nerfed your cooldown damage way harder than they buffed your overall, is the only thing here. I do think this is the right direction for Enhance, to bring down the cooldowns and bring up, but I just feel like this isn't like an appropriate value on both sides. I think Enhance will just feel very bad after this. But again, if they're going to keep doing this every week, then it's like, okay, we did that. It wasn't enough. Bring it up again. As long as we're doing that, then I think we end up in an okay spot. And then for Arms Warrior, all damage is being increased by 15%, which compensates a little bit for some of the nerfs up top. But Slam is getting nerfed by 60%. Right after I literally just made a build this morning about how you can play Slam Warrior and it's the only way to be viable. Nope, it's dead. It's dead. It's dead. Slam's dead. I don't know if Warrior is dead as a result of that. We don't see any changes to snares. We don't see any changes to dispel mechanics that are kind of boning over mostly on Holy DK and Elemental Shaman, but I'm sure it's other classes as well. We didn't see the bug fixes for Tentacle Slam not applying dots, even if the target's in line of sight, like clearly in front of you, and doesn't apply dots on the thing that you're targeting. Would like to see that, but for the most part, I think this is all good. This is all really good. This is a good week of changes. And I think just we see where we land after this, and then another round, and I think everybody's going to be pretty happy when it actually comes through, and you'll be able to just play what you want to play, as opposed to being worried about picking something that just ends up being really bad, or picking something just because it's super OP, even if it's not what you want to play. So I think this is a good one. So I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. Thank you guys very much for tuning into the video, and I will see you in the next one.